Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephan Relitz. Peraton employee, as my shirt would indicate, and been with the company since the acquisition that Tom's talking about in 2021. Originally was with Northern Grumman for almost 20 years, and between that time frame, spent a year and a half at Amazon, putting commercial services in the classified clouds. So, I wear multiple hats. One, as I just mentioned, my role here at Peraton, I'm the chief engineer in the Federal Strategic Cyber Operating Unit. It's a mouthful. Basically, we have the cyber portfolio outside of DoD in the federal space. So our customer Manny was nice enough to speak this morning. We work with the State Department, we work with CISA. We work with a variety of other customers, federal, state, and local. Wouldn't know, but Peraton manages infrastructure for the county of San Diego. So other things like that. So one of my roles is I'm presently one of the two sticks co-chairs in the CTI technical committee, which has been talked about a couple times today. Been in that role for a little over a year. And what we've been working on, we just got done with what we were for a time calling 6.2.1.1. That just went through a TC vote. It's actually now what's being referred to as an errata change to 6.2.1. So I'm going to share my screen and just quickly, whilst wearing the co-chair hat, walk you through and try to generate a little bit of interest for what we have in front of us. So what I'm showing you is the core issue repo here in GitHub for 6.2.x. And so what I have labeled right now are what we've identified as new features, and this is visible to all of you, so feel free to review these issues, but we're about to embark on the adventure of starting to define what 2.2 or 2.x will be, the next iteration of the specification. There are some core items, so you can see 6 patterning is one of the labels that's been identified. Also 6 core, things along 6 observables and 6 extensions. So Rich Piazza this morning talked about the extension process. So while 2.1 has been the standard for a while, there have been significant additions to the standard by the virtue of the extension. So we've been working with DC3, who has been championing the incident extension, and others. So while big version changes haven't happened at the specification level, I would say that the standard is a living and breathing standard that is incorporating ideas across the cyber community as a whole. And like I said, the TC is going to be meeting probably on a weekly cadence again to start working through these open issues. There's also been a discussion of, okay, in the world of AI and where we are in 2025, do we need to start thinking about the standard after next? So Brett Jordan's brought up in a couple of threads about 6.3.0, what does that need to look like? So yes, we can have the changes we need in the next 18 to 36 months, but what does 5 years down the road look like? Now, as fast as technology is moving, 5 years is forever. So just wanted to give a little bit of a plug there. for the work that the TC is doing. The fact that this is open for all TC members and those that want to contribute, those that are consuming the six specification in their tools. As we've heard today, you know, this GitHub issue tracker is open to the community, so you don't need to be a member of the TC to add something to the tracker to get in front of us to throw the ideas up against the wall. Yes, Jane.
I was wondering, is that Rich this morning talked about the 3 different tracks for different extensions? The incident track is the one where it will be incorporated into the next version of the standard. Is that correct?
I believe that is a true statement. Again, we're working with Jeff Mates, who's the proponent of that within the TC, as well as TC3, who's kind of taken ownership of that from an implementation perspective, because they're looking at things happening across the defense industrial base. And so an incident for them is different than an incident. So you've got small I incident, and then you've got capital I incident. And, you know, what we talked about just now with Bull Typhoon, you know, is that a campaign? Is that a group of campaigns? Is that an incident? You know, it's the taxonomy we're using. Obviously, we need to be on the same sheet of music. But I would say, again, this is living, breathing architecture and framework, and we'll evolve it as we need to. Yes, Patrick.
Just like to make one amplifying point is one thing we did accomplish is we have codified the 6 extension model. So that if you have something that's not in 6 that you want to bring to 6, there is a process for you to do so now.
Yes.
Normally.
There is an organized, approved methodology to incorporate new extensions.
You got to do the work, but there is now a way for you to get your pony, as Rich used to say.
Yeah, exactly. You can have your pony.
But let me also throw in, sort of wearing my former Oasis board member hat. You don't have to be a member of the TC to participate at the level we just mentioned. You do have to be a member of the TC to vote on, hey, yes, I want this one to be part of it, or I don't want this one to be part of it. So if you are interested in that, you probably do want to be in the TC.
Join meetings, join the meetings as well.
Yeah.
You can't join the meetings if you're not.
Exactly. And because we have multiple musicians in the room, I won't call all of you out, but I know some of you play music. I want to rip off some of what Patrick was saying earlier. So this is my hut that my Raspberry Pi that I'm gonna build into that community. And we have talked internally within the CAST group about how we can make, so the last couple of plug fests we've demonstrated interoperability. We want to take that to the next level. So with Open BAS and what we were seeing a little earlier, I'm proposing within the next 3 to 6 months that we have a virtual environment that we stand up, and I'm talking to my internal Peraton team as well as some of our partners about sponsoring an actual cyber range that we can stand up for a period of time where we'll actually have a set of penetration testers that do the red teaming for a living, and that we test our defensive capabilities using the standards with actual red teamers in a cyber range. So you know, you fight like you train, and you train like you fight. And we want to move this beyond theory and academic exercises into something that, again, tests the interoperability of the standards and finds out, you know, where do the wheels fall off the bus. And we learn that in interoperability exercises, so we can take that and apply it to our actual enterprises and make things better. So a couple of plugs before I get into the actual meat of my discussion.
Can I interrupt you before, since it's sort of a logical break point? I was supposed to say when we started, and I apologize, I was actually supposed to say before the break, as people were breaking. Don't forget, as you leave, you have to turn in your badge. This is a secure facility, and Peraton was very nice to host us here, and we're not gonna get to do it again if people forget to turn in their badges when they leave. Apparently has happened. So, so please do remember to do that. Thank you.
We don't want the security mafia chasing Matt down on the way to open road. And by the way, we've organized that as well. Please, if you have the opportunity and time, attend the happy hour at the open road this evening. There will be both food as well as adult beverages. I'm a kitty beverage guy, card carrying Mormon, but you all are free to imbibe as much as we can up to the limit of what we've said, so.
I could just add something. Unfortunately, Joshua's colleague came from New York today to join, but he hadn't completed the registration, so he couldn't come into the building. But he will be there tonight.
Okay.
So if any of you want to meet the founder of Hype TV, did you all hear me? If you want to meet him, he'll be there tonight. So make that another reason to go.
Thank you, Jane.
Where are we gonna be?
So, Charlie made mention of IMX, and so this is getting into the beginning of my discussion. So I've been doing cyber officially for roughly 25 years. How I know that is there was a very significant event that I was part of that defined for me how serious this can be. So I was an early member of what was known at the time as JTF-C&D, Joint Task Force for Computer Network Defense. At the time, it was under the Joint Staff, was ultimately kicked around between Spacecom and Stratcom before it became US Cyber Command. So when I joined the organization 25 years ago, minus a month, so I joined on May 1st, so anniversary is coming up in less than a month. My second day in the organization, I was supporting the J2, and we were having an offsite. There were a total of 26 people in the JTF at the time. When I left 5 years later, there were 400 people, and it has obviously continued to grow since then. But on May 1st of 2000, the Melissa virus hit DoD, and we were at an offsite. Well, a couple pagers go off, a couple more pagers go off. Yes, pagers did exist back then. I'm showing my age, but needless to say, the meeting was adjourned early, and what the Melissa virus had hit the .mil, and so there was a pain threshold that hadn't been experienced before, and so the response action at the time was to sever port 80 between the .mil and the internet.
Happy customers.
So that made the pain go away, but what we didn't realize until after the fact, so all the logistics folks at Transcom were outside the fence on the internet. The Corps of Engineers moving barge traffic up and down the Mississippi River were outside of the .mil. And so there was a lot of unintended effects from a single decision to sever the cable between the internet and the .mil to make the Melissa pain go away. So that was a eye-opening experience for me on day 2 of being in a new organization, of how significant one decision could be. I've been at a number of other organizations, spent 10 years on and off supporting CISA and its predecessor organizations. Actually was the initial chief engineer for the automated indicator sharing program when we stood up using Stix 1.1, and learned lots of good lessons there, trying to do cable scans on XML to figure out, hash values that are embedded in blobs. That was not fun. So, as we move to JSON and other, more enlightened standards, things got better. Just wanted to show you, so this is the interface that we started with CISA. This is a fully fleshed out usage of the 6.2.1 standard. So all of the various SDOs are fully able to be documented. And for us as software developers and practitioners, this works out great. I know what the SDOs are. Our SOC analysts and others don't want to get into that level of minutia. So we added, at the encouragement of one of our customers, what we internally refer to as the TurboTax model. So having a guided report that asks the questions about the various 6 domain objects is what we've evolved this to. And so since Charlie had mentioned IMAX, I just wanted to give you an idea of what that is and who is using it. Right now, CISA is using this in their organization. We have a pilot with NSA, and this is also in operations with DC3 as part of the work that Peraton is supporting there. And there has been talk by our customer, Matt can confirm, that this is somewhere between in the oven and looking at the timer, but our customer went to the first conference in Japan and was talking about open sourcing this to the community. The government has worked through the intellectual property, so that's a discussion that's still pending. But if you're interested in utilizing IMAX, get in contact with us and we'll see what we can do. So one is on the agenda has me talking about NTLM, and so I want to kind of transition to that part of my discussion. I thought I had, there it is. Enjoy working on Mac. So for those of you that don't know what NTLM is, it stands for Windows NT LAN Manager. So we thought Windows NT went away. It's still with us. It's just been relabeled as Windows 10, Windows 11. And so the fun and excitement of having an authentication manager, network manager that has vulnerabilities is a problem. And the fact that those vulnerabilities continue to persist and
Can't be fixed.
so Windows or Microsoft has said NTLM is going away. Well, we're on Windows 11.
So is the sun.
Yes. Depends on which eon you're going to be talking about. So in that, Windows is still pretty persistent in the Windows market. It's a problem that is going to be persisting for a while. So the workflow that I'm going to demonstrate, and I appreciate Charlie's passion. IOCs, transitory, have an expiration date, especially when they're shared via virus total with the bad guys. So part of my demonstration will talk about IOC enrichment. I totally agree with Charlie. IOBs and signatures are the way we need to go. And there are going to be various data science algorithms that we can apply to the data to help gel those signatures together. But for ease of demonstration today, I want to just quickly walk through a workflow that is IOC centric. So the platform that Peraton has to do this has been known by a few names recently. With CISO, it was referred to as CTEX, Cyber Threat Exchange. It's also been referred to as Threat Board. So those two names are interchangeable, but it is so. Having worked for Northrop for almost 20 years, I was told there that, you know, at the level I was working, we don't do products. That for at least that company at that time, a product was a B-2 bomber, it was an ICBM, it was a submarine, it was an aircraft carrier. We have solutions, but products were reserved for bigger things. So this is a solution. It's something that Peraton has been working on with internal R&D funding, as well as working with customers to enhance. We've been working to incorporate the standards that we've talked about here. So what you'll see today is STIX 2.1. You'll see cacao, and being able to then disseminate that and consume it via the roaster application. So we've embedded that as a module within the application. So the workflow I'm going to walk you through is taking a report from an external provider, in this case Unit 42 from Palo Alto, and ingesting that, reading the long form report, doing some entity extraction, some named entity recognition, etc., applying that as enrichment, then going out to the enrichment sources that we have, find out what the community knows about these things, and then apply that data before the analyst ever interacts with any of these data points. It's ingested, enriched. Then we have the ability, similar to what Charlie was doing with 4J, plotting that data onto a graph database, because that works well with the STIX model. And then being able to, what I've got a recording of is the actual emulation of the NTLM attack that was used by APT28 against various organizations to capture that NTLM hash. So that will be the signature in the cacao playbook that will invoke the next step. And then what we've done, because believe that instead of espousing things via a binding operational directive, saying thou shalt go fix your stuff. Well, that works, but giving somebody a tool in their hands and data to do it, it works a whole lot better. And so being able to take the CTI data that you've curated as a STIX bundle, being able to then embed that playbook as a base64 string in the course of action object within your STIX bundle, and send the CTI data and the fix, whether that's manual or automated or both, to your consumers. In my mind, that's a much better approach than saying thou shalt fix thy stuff. So that's basically what I'm going to show you here today. If you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. And I'm going to be running ahead of schedule, so I will provide some schedule time back into the group. So this is the attack that was described in the Unit 42 report. So you had an offshoot of APT28, otherwise known as Fighting Ursa, going after vulnerability 23397, which is a NTLM vulnerability. So what the simulation here shows is a phishing email comes in the system, and guess I can turn on the embedded video. So got our virtual emulated environment, and you have the vulnerable servers. So the bad actor is going to spin up his Kali Linux box and then proceed to run an exploit against the servers, again with that vulnerable internet-facing resource. It's going to go after this unpatched server, and the way that it will be triggered is via an Outlook client. The recipient receives a calendar notification that has the phishing attack embedded in it. The person clicks on their calendar that launches the NTLM exploit and captures the hash associated with that server's authentication. And wish that I could do this demonstration live, but Memorex is going to have to do for right now. So we'll see the hash value captured here in a second. And that is what in turn allows for the attacker to pivot into the system and proceed to move laterally, do other bad things, as Charlie was talking about earlier, similar to what they were doing with Volt Typhoon. Also, just to mention, this same attack pattern was used in multiple ransomware attacks. The same vulnerability in NTLM, and it is persisting to date. Later on in my slide deck, I'll show you some recent CVEs that are associated with this wonderful gift that keeps giving. So there we've gotten the hash, and now we're able to pivot into the server. The part that I don't have here is going and showing the remediation, which we're going to be doing here. Sorry. Get out of full screen mode. Go to the next. So, what we've done is created this bundle, and I can show you an IMX that has the course of action. It has the identity, it has the incident, which is associated with this long form report. We have the custom object, that is the playbook. And we have the course of action, which is also the playbook that's associated with the base 64 base 64 string. Too many numbers in my head. So that's what the JSON actually looks like. And this is what the playbook looks like. So as we saw in Charlie's presentation, there's various steps along the way. In this case, we have the happy path or the sad path, I guess, where the NTLM hash is found. There's two possible remediation actions. One, if it's true that you're going to run the automated script and have the permissions to do so, then this Ansible script will run. If it's not authorized for an automated remediation, then we've articulated within the Peraton playbook the steps that need to be taken to affect that change. So, like I said, here's the gift that keeps giving. So in 2024, you have a vulnerability, 21320, came out in January, affects Windows 10, 11, and all of the server 2012 to 2024 baselines. Yay. Same thing, UR file NTLM hash has to do with Windows Teams. From December of 2024, this one goes all the way back to Server 2008. And then a no CVE declared yet 0 day from March of this year that affects Windows 7 through 11, Server 2008 through 2025. So, like I said earlier, when Microsoft says that TLM is going away, well, it's not gone yet. And so it is the gift that keeps giving. So figuring out a way that our enterprises can more quickly address these types of vulnerabilities is what we're trying to get to. And
Before you leave that one, can I ask a question on it?
yes, sir.
So the original CVE was January 24, which I assume it actually got found before. You know when it became a KEV, when it became a known exploited vulnerability, and when the patch came out? Do you happen to know the timing and how much is still out there, so to speak?
That is a good question. And we can get to that
I mean,
answer.
obviously the March 25th is still out there, but I was wondering on the year ago one if it's still out there.
It still is, and we can look into that and see if there's CAD data associated with that. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the acronym CAD, known exploited vulnerabilities, in the catalog that CISA has, that they are tracking exploits and vulnerabilities and declaring whether those have exploits in the wild, and also the patches and fix act remediation actions that need to be applied to mitigate those. Yes, John?
Yes, Steve, so with the current one, the SCF 0 day, you're gonna put that into a sticks bundle. It's gonna get broadcast out. I don't wanna get too far ahead of you, but then if a CVE is now assigned next week, will you connect what you've already communicated with that new CVE?
So one of the wonders of sticks is that you have a created date, and that gets assigned to a string, the associated key for that sticks domain object. Anything subsequent to that is so you have a created by and a created when, and so if there's an update to that, you can send out that sticks bundle again and do a modified and append the new information to it, so you have the traceability of how the information has changed over time. Yes, sir.
Is a CVE, I know CVE is a national vulnerability database, but they're also stored in sticks.
So Stix has the ability, Stix has a vulnerability object, and so that data can be enumerated in the vulnerability objects tied to the CVE data.
Is there a way of separating them with like one for programs, the other for cyber crimes? Is there any differentiation?
At the SDO level, no, but you have threat actor objects that can be associated with that vulnerability, and you can get into the level of detail. You know, is it being used for espionage, is it being used for cybercrime? And so you create those relationships in the Stix data based on the pattern of the attack.
Very good.
Thanks.
That's good.
All right, so enough PowerPoint. So I'm gonna take you into our CTEX application. Meeting controls, so I don't have to wrestle for too many pieces of real estate, except for this guy. So what we've tried to build here, and this user interface is presently getting an update. So this is based on an internal Peraton capability known as fractals. The beauty of fractals is, so this isn't a static webpage interface. So I want to extend my workspace. I can add a name of a page here. And so I have a blank canvas. I can set out to create my next steps. So I want to have a 2-pane interface. I go up here and I search my catalog of widgets, so I can drag and drop new widgets into this pane to meet whatever needs as an analyst that I have. So we found that that is very beneficial. Everybody works differently, so we've tried to embrace that and provide constructive user interfaces and recommendations, but not mandating to the analyst how they're going to do their work. So what we have here is the inbound screen that a SOC analyst would be looking at. So I've got, so this is that Fighting Ursa long form report. So you can see here, I've got 4 panes, and they're each listening to each other. So I've got the original PDF view. This is the overview, and you can see the various colorations here. So this is where the entity extraction, so it knows, because we've trained it on some cyber data, that Fighting Ursa is a threat actor, that CVE 2023 is a CVE, that Microsoft's an organization, Ukraine's a country. So that's where the entity extraction takes place. And then what it also knows and understands, are domains and hashes. So it's applied specific coloring to those. And so one of the, as I mentioned earlier, with the enrichment that's taking place, what we're doing is looking up this indicator data that's been extracted off this long form report and looking it up with the enrichment sources. So you can see here, we're trying to do some calculation that not all indicators are created equal, and yes, there are false positives that the AI is still learning on. But here specifically, this hash value has been found in VirusTotal. So we're applying a score of 100 that gets calculated across a variety of sources based on, their level of trust. We're implying that VirusTotal has got higher trust than other sources. That could be true or not. But to wrap the analyst's head around, yes, this is something that the community has seen, as well as here in the upper, it says that this has appeared in 2 internal incidents and has information from 3 external sources. So I can page through these enrichment sources, and if I wanted to pivot into VirusTotal, I could open a new tab, but because I'm sharing in Zoom, that does work well. So again, providing as much automation at the front of the analytical process, so the analyst is cutting and pasting information into VirusTotal or SkyKey and hybrid analysis, and trying to aggregate that in their head. So as we walk through additional views in the graph, so we're able to get an understanding of the activity from these reports, again, how many times they've been reported and various types of indicator data. But where this starts to come together is looking at it within a graph. And so I'm going to make this less busy for a second. So I'm able to walk this graph in a couple different ways. First, I'm going to walk it back to some initial queries. It pre-staged it, so I didn't have to run queries live. But basically, this is the representation of that report as seen in the visualization plotted on the Neo4j database. And you can see the CVEs over here that do have the kev data tag. I can show you real quickly. So our approach with Threadboard is to have a modular approach. Things come in and out, and so what we've done is we've built in plugins for a variety of tools. So for example, if you have ServiceNow, having a ServiceNow integration allows you to ingest data from ServiceNow. If you're doing Nessus scanning to look at your vulnerabilities in your environment, got that there. And then, so those are the data feeds, and then we're doing enrichments based on those open source feeds. But if you have commercial feeds or internal feeds that you wanted to run that enrichment by, it's just an API call. And then we've got manual ingest. So at CISA, they have Analyst One, State Department as well. And so being able to pull long form reporting out of the threat intelligence platform or a flashpoint for vulnerability data, that's an integration where we're pulling data directly in from their API and then transforming that into the data that you're seeing here. So again, busy graph, but what we've tried to add is some intuitive navigation. So if I don't want to see identity information, I can turn that off. Same thing with marking definition. Threat actors are more interesting, but got again the incident data. So a way to make the graph less noisy. But what I'm stepping through here with is, so here we have the CVE that was in the report. So we can see that there's a kev label. So to answer your question, there is kev data for this. And these are the attack patterns that we previously talked about. There looks like there are 2 campaigns and 4 other incidents. So if I wanted to see what commonality was between these two attacks, to get to Charlie's earlier discussion, looking for the meat in the middle of the 2 graphs. So this would then be those sets of indicators and potentially attack patterns, as well as hostile actors that would then be that initial started signature. Yes, James.
On your kev data, is that an extension to sticks, or is that embedded within vulnerability object?
So it's using the vulnerability object, and we're ingesting the kev catalog data and then plotting that on the graph database as vulnerability data. So whether it's there in sticks or natively or not, we're transforming it into vulnerability objects.
So do you drive any deeper than Kev, like EPSS or gray noise?
So again, we're working towards that with a variety of customers. So tightening the OODA loop, the reaction time, ultimately what I'm wearing my chief technologist hat, I want to get us to agentic AI, where you have the AI co-pilot for the analyst that is also watching what's happening on the screen, making recommendations based on the information that it understands. Now, obviously, you've got to do the training of the models, so it can, one of the things that we did recently within the last 6 months is we took 330,000 software applications vulnerabilities and taught our large language model to speak vulnerability. So it has been further trained and not just an off-the-shelf large language model. Obviously, that data will grow stale, and so being able to tighten that refresh rate on your LLMs or using GraphRag or other technologies to augment your holdings is, it's where the market's going, but the technology is evolving so fast that sometimes it's hard to get your arms around it. Yes, sir.
Can you export this into an IOB bundle?
Into an IOB bundle, I can export it as a sticks bundle.
Okay,
So that is,
this is close.
so there's two things that I can do with this now. So I can go in, so I can save as an image that has little utility other than, you know, being nice wallpaper.
Present to management.
And so funny story that, so when I was at the JTF, we had these wonderfully large 17-inch monitors. And a year or two into the job, I was serving as the Intel architect for the J2. And I said, boss, we have an incident that has hundreds of nodes, trying to plot it in an analyst's notebook and view it on the 17-inch screen and make sense of it. Well, the only way we can make sense of this is to print it out on a plotter
Right now, the big.
that was 4 feet wide. And when we printed off one of the intrusions that Patrick and I were talking about earlier, it was 20 feet long by 4 feet wide, and the icons were that big. Wow. So wallpaper, when I say wallpaper, I really mean it. But yes, so to answer your question, Patrick, so I click on this, downloads sticks data as a bundle. I can save as CSV or JSON. Obviously, JSON is the second. So I download it, and it's taking everything that was in that graph and now putting it in a JSON bundle that I can pull up an IMX or use with IOB or some other tool. Again, the power of standards. This is not proprietary, this is portable, can be used in any of the tools that we've talked about today. So again, where that again goes back to the portability. So here we've got the CGI creation, and because I've got an iframe cached in a web page, it doesn't want to persist. But I can import the base64 image as text. I believe I'll show you guys later. Don't want to bore you with me battling the cut and paste. And I'm running ahead of schedule, but just wanted to show that I think that this is a good representative way forward. Again, using the standards that we've been talking about here, that we're evolving collectively. And then at that opportunity, you know, 3-6 months down the road, actually being able to try this out in a cyber range with some red teamers, and learn some lessons that we don't already know. Yes, sir.
Just small knowledge. When you're filling out the sticks book here, are you filling it out with the resolution of the problem? Is, you know, is this the last step of the process? Because I've identified the threat. I've now researched it, actually mitigated it. Now I want to be able to make the rest of the world aware of what the indicators were and how I fixed it.
Correct. So here within the IMX bundle, and we'll go back to the longer form. So this is the actual bundle. This is a pretty print view of the JSON, but you can open each one of these up. So this is your base64 string, and just for grins, I'm going to try to.
So let me just, in essence, this could be like a problem management system. In essence, you've encountered a problem, wrote a trouble ticket, you routed it to the person who owns the failing object, own it. Then it's gone through a problem lifecycle where it got resolved, and then it was placed onto your problem database so that the next time you encounter this problem, you don't have to go through a whole process again. You already know you.
Right, you pull the recipe off the shelf and you say, run this bot,
So
oh,
we're
it
trying
needs
to-
this update, so.
All right, so you're trying to do the same thing with sticks that's been done with problem management. Now you want to build up a database of known fixes with the abstract associated. This is like an early warning system that I worked on with IBM in the 1960s. It's not on fish, but it's there, okay? So you put the abstract in, it says, all right, here's a potential match. You look at those matches, then you try to find out what's the best match of the ones you found. Then you bring that up and then you actually have a yellow brick road to follow towards fixing it. And that's the goal of what we want to do. And if that goal gets good enough, it could be applied to artificial intelligence and they can then take care of it.
I would say there's gonna be an interim step where the,
And then a
It may take
miracle
couple weeks,
occurs.
Yeah.
yes, the Waymo cloud.
Well, I'll have it done by next Friday, okay? No problem.
So, yes, that is the objective, because things are happening at machine speed. And as we heard earlier, you know, spending weeks or months to develop a signature for something that can be changed with the flip of an IP. Obviously, we need to employ data science and algorithms and other higher learning against the problem to make it signature based instead of very transactional indicators of compromise.
Well, you have accomplished a percentage of that work done already.
Yes,
So you have the foundation of a database that's working and you're adding to it as days go by.
right. So again, going back to these integrations that we have here. So this is things that we've already integrated as part of our modular solution. We've got open architecture that we can add whatever else we need. That is the new tool du jour to help get at the problem. Put that data into a common database that we can run those algorithms against beyond just what is able to be visualized here to be able to then employ data science to the problem.
So
Sure.
getting back to Manny's point earlier, ROI. So can you give us any generic or general wins of using this method? And, you know, you found this
So
vulnerability.
We're embarking on a pilot with state to actually implement this with them to employ that at the state's level, Department of State's level of operations. So all of the MC consulates worldwide plus the state's type State Department enterprise. We're working this with CISA. We're working with CISA with the critical infrastructure sectors. So, you know,
ISAC's already using it,
um,
or the CISA side of the ISAC, I guess.
yes, we're getting.
I mean, not, you're obviously showing us the latest, greatest. They're using older versions of this already, right?
So they are currently using IMX in production with what we're doing with the threat hunting organization, which is changing as we speak. They're going through a redesign with the things that are happening with DOD and elsewhere across the federal government. But yeah, we're trying to take best practices that we're learning in groups like this and to bring that message back as capability to the government customer to affect the best cyber defense we're capable of.
I'm gonna imagine every one of those tools that you have listed up there, they have a different type of record coming in. So you're gonna have to take the records coming in from all those different tools, parse them, and then generate a base foundation record that you're gonna feed in to sticks. And then that's gonna generate all of your.
You just described the stick shifter project, which we didn't talk about today, but it is one of the projects of this, which we spent a lot of time on at the last village. So yes, there's a 28 or 30.
My question
Already.
being that sticks is gonna have to be the final goal of a cyber reporting system that everybody's gonna have to have.
One ring to rule.
And to come full
That's been our
circle,
objective for a decade or more, so yeah.
so to come full circle,
Yeah, oh, good point.
what are your
Good
issue is?
segue, good segue, yeah.
All right, thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Thank you.